My name is NonStopAntonio, and in the past few months, we have been reacting to My Hero Academia Season 6. And now that the season is finally over, it's time to talk about the season as a whole, the Paranormal Liberation War Arc, the Dark Hero Arc, and everything that happened during it, and what it really set up for our characters. This season was awesome, and it sucks that it's now over, but we are pretty close to the manga, so I'm hoping we don't have to wait too long for Season 7, but I feel like it'll be a little bit longer than the wait between Season 5 and Season 6. So what we're going to be doing is mainly talking about the Paranormal Liberation War Arc, because it's going to be so long, and I'll do another video for the Dark Hero Arc. So let's jump into the Paranormal Liberation Arc. Welcome to NonStopAntonio, where I talk about everything nerdy. I love Marvel, DC, and anime, and if you do too, I hope you enjoy this video. This season was truly awesome between the Paranormal Liberation War Arc and the Dark Hero Arc, with the Dark Hero Arc and Vigilante Deku being my favorite from the season, and where they really stepped up their game, where they wanted to hit us with those goddamn raw emotions. It was amazing to see how they portrayed these characters and how much emotion was going through them, how much Deku would push himself to protect the people he loved, and really make it so that he'd rather sacrifice himself than anyone else get hurt in the process. And I think they did a fantastic job, especially near the end of the season with Deku versus Class A and then Uraraka's speech. Some amazing moments during the season. I think most of my favorite moments was from that final arc. The animation was top tier as well when we got to the Dark Hero Arc. However, I felt like during the War Arc, there were some moments that probably could have been animated a little bit better, but I feel like they just saved all their budget for the Dark Hero part. But the season really started off with a bang, going right into the war. Like, I did not expect us to pick up with the season, and then 2 assaults going on at the hospital and the villa. And also having all the pro heroes from Japan, and having the UA students for backup. The whole first few episodes really set the tone for where the War Arc was going to go, and I felt like it probably should have went on a little longer, and it ended very quickly, where I thought so much more was going to go on. However, the season was still amazing nonetheless. So the way we're going to be talking about this, we'll go hospital, then villa, and we'll just talk about the sections together because they go back and forth a lot during the first arc. Because when we started in the hospital, we had the sheer amount of Nomus come out. The sheer amount of them the heroes just blew through was insane. Mirko herself just freaking decimated all the low-end ones. And you know, after watching All Might verse, the first one, and having such a hard time, I thought Nomus would be a little bit stronger. But I guess they did have like the very weak tier that they had for just mindless drones that the heroes were just easily able to kill. And I really wonder if any of those Nomus were heroes that we have met during the seasons that were turned into them. However, during this assault, I really started to like Mirko as a character because of how fast she moved, how badass she was, and how she just blew through all the Nomus and versus the high ends and was not stopping no matter what. Even though her arm got freaking busted to shit, she was going forward to break Shigaraki's chamber that he was in. The heroes look like they're gonna win, and then everything just goes wrong. Because while they're doing all the fighting and everything, and President Mike takes Garaki back, we learn more about Garaki and what happened for All For One and why he's still alive. It's because Garaki has a life force quirk, which just seems like a very awesome quirk to have. You can live twice as long as everyone else. And the fact that that could be passed on for All For One, and then All For One could give that as a copy to anyone, like, you can just double the life of everyone. Even though, you know, multiple quirks will eventually destroy your body, I thought that was really interesting how they showed that. Because that's why All For One's been around for so long, and now because Shigaraki has that same quirk, he could survive for a very long time as well. And this was really where they set up that All For One was going to be slowly taking over Shigaraki's body, because All For One put all his quirks into him. Which I think was a very interesting aspect, that All For One doesn't really care about Shigaraki and what his goal is. He just wanted a vessel to be turned into the ultimate weapon to keep creating his mass mayhem and be that evil freaking monster. But you know, rip X-List, because as soon as Shigaraki wakes up, he just freaking obliterates the dude. I can't believe X-List just looked at him. He didn't even do anything. He just looked at the body there and just got killed right off the bat. However, I love that Gran Torino saves President Mike, and everyone has to book it the hell out of the facility because Shigaraki is now OP as shit, and his DK can just destroy anything and any distance that he wants. And this part of the arc really wanted us to believe that Aizawa was gonna die, because he almost gets killed from Shigaraki's decay, but then the one hero saves him, and then later, Shigaraki almost rips his goddamn face off. So they really wanted us to believe that Aizawa wasn't gonna make it out of this alive. But now, before I get too far into the Shigaraki fight, because he is awakened, let's jump back to the villa, because the villa had some amazing moments in itself. Because when they were assaulting the villa and just causing mass chaos at the villain's hideout, you had Kaminari getting a goddamn hero moment, absorbing the electricity from the other villain, which I think was really cool, and also seeing that Kaminari has a crush on Jiro and worrying about her and thinking about her when they're about to go into the fight and how he wants to protect the people he cares about. And then we also had Tokiyami getting a really cool moment where we had Dark Shadow destroying the tunnels for the villa, which seeing Dark Shadow get released is very interesting. Like, Dark Shadow alone is a cool quirk, and I like the way they've been able to use it. Also, Fat Taxi is awesome. I love Fat Gum. He's such a great character, and I love how he was carrying everyone inside him while he was running away to protect them. But the main plot I want to talk about from the villa is Hawks and Twice, because that dynamic was so interesting, how Hawks wanted to save Twice. He believed that there was good in him. He wanted to help this character who was a villain, who was mistreated by the Hero Society. However, Twice didn't want to go in that route. He wanted to save his friends. He wanted to help the people he cared about. Where you can really see that heroes and villains aren't so different sometimes, because villains can just get turned into villains from this Hero Society, because this Hero Society is a joke. And you can really see the hurt in Twice's eyes when he finds out the Hawks betrayed him, because that's the second time he's brought someone into their group that's turned on them and caused chaos and death for other people in their group, which I just really like how you had Twice being so determined to save his friends and help them, but Hawks in the end had to turn villain and kill Twice, because Twice is a one-man army, and it was just an overall sad scene, because you had two characters, one who really cared about his friends, one believed that the other one could be good. Twice still saw that Hawks was looking down on him because he was a villain, even though Twice never chose the life he got, but he got the family he needed, and it's just very upsetting to see that this character cared so much for his friends. And in the end, he was able to save Mr. Compress and Toga one last time before he died and get that hug from Toga as he passed. Even though he was one of his doubles, I feel like he could still feel that hug. And even during this, we find out more about Dabi while he's fighting Hawks and, well, almost killing Hawks and burning his wings off, that he wants to tear down the society and he's still trying to follow Stain's villain. He could care less about Shigaraki's goal. And it's all because of his father that we learn about later, that he sees his father as a fake hero and he wants to make his life a living hell. Which I think the big reveal later when we get to it is such a good moment. Now let's talk about Shigaraki versus Deku round 1, because this fight in itself was awesome. Seeing Shigaraki being absolutely OP and obliterating all the heroes, just pushing his way through Endeavor, not having a single issue, getting burned alive, and the dude just stands right back up. And it's awesome to watch Shigaraki use the multiple quirks that he gained. Like, he has ragdolls. It still has all the information that she had while she was helping the kids during the training camp arc, because he could see Bakugo, Deku, and Todoroki. Like, I knew that one dot in the far distance was going to be Todoroki, because who else would be following them? They're like the trio that always get into trouble and are always heroes together. And I just love how Deku instantly goes to run into the battle, because he hears one for all and he knows that Shigaraki's going to be after him. So to save everyone around him, he does the selfless thing and goes out and tries to protect everyone. And of course, Bakugo is going to follow, because, well, Bakugo's not going to let Deku do everything on his own. But even during this fight, Deku wasn't supposed to get involved at first, but as soon as Aizawa was about to get killed, you know he's going to jump in to protect his teacher. And I love the moment too, because he has to stop him. Even though he's trying to not to lose one for all, he's gonna go in and make sure that these heroes don't die, because he can do something. And I love how Aizawa refuses to die, because if they lose his quirk, Shigaraki will be unstoppable and the world still needs heroes. And during this fight too, you can really see All For One calling out and taking over Shigaraki's body, because he keeps saying little brother, because he senses that One For All is near him and his brother's consciousness, which just very dark and very twisted. And I totally thought during this too that Gran Torino died, because the dude took a brutal hit to the stomach and I thought it was over for him. And I love how that sends Deku into a full-on rage, and then he has the quirk eraser and almost erases Aizawa's quirk, and Aizawa cuts off his own freaking leg, which was just shocking as shit. And while he's thinking about Eri too, because he's got to be there to make sure that she can use her quirk and learn how to use it. And if he's gone, no one's going to be able to help Eri, which I just think was a very good moment. And then also getting Bakugo's atonement while Deku's going full rage and launching himself to protect Deku, his legs moving without him thinking, just like how Deku did when he originally saved him, showing how far Bakugo has come. And just overall, during all this, you just see Deku going full rage, and then All For One trying to take One For All, but then all the other vestiges saying, no, we choose to be in this boy, and we aren't gonna let you take it. We are gonna help him stop you. Such a good moment showing how strong the users of One For All are, and how they choose Deku to be their hero, and the one that's gonna be able to take down All For One. And I'm so excited to see that final fight when we get to it. Now, before we get into the second half of the fight when Makia arrives, let's quickly talk about the cool Makia moments, because unfortunately Midnight dies, and that scene alone after all the aftermath, seeing their dead teacher's body was so upsetting. It was so depressing. Really, everything about the aftermath was depressing, but we'll get to that. I like how we see Yazurozu get her hero moment, becoming a leader, making the sedative to try to knock down Makia. You have Mina going in through the fire, but almost getting killed. And then you have Kirishima coming for the save because Mina gets stunned. And because Makia was that villain that was tormenting her on the side of the street back in the earlier season. But then you have Kirishima stepping in, even though he didn't do it before. But this time, he was going to come in and save her. Kirishima getting a freaking badass, unbreakable moment as he climbs up Makia and throws the sedative in his mouth. It was just really cool to see how all these characters are getting their hero moment during the season, and I love seeing it because I am a sucker for the hero moments, and it's always great to see characters who have been trying so hard to do this finally get it. Now it's time to talk about one of the biggest moments during this arc, and it was the fact that Dabi is Toya. Now this was such a big reveal for us as an audience and the characters because obviously no one knew, even though I kind of put it together earlier because I'm like, well, he's a fire user. We don't see many other fire quirks. What if he's related to Endeavor somehow? And he was. The performance from the actor was top-notch in both dub and sub, and I think it was awesome watching it because of how impactful it is, how it made Endeavor freeze. He was shocked to see his son alive, someone he thought he lost a long time ago, and his son is a murderer. And the ironic part too, Dabi is only a villain because of Endeavor. It's because he put all his hopes and dreams into his kid to be a hero and then took that away like nothing after we find out later on. And that reveal was just such an important moment for everyone in the show. And it shows how the public is losing trust in the heroes because they see their '1 hero has a villainous son that has been killing people on the streets. And how Endeavor was also a terrible father. And also the fact that Endeavor was trying to make kids so that they could be a stronger hero, which was not allowed in the hero society. Dabi revealing the Hawks killed twice was also a very big moment to show that the heroes are not so different from the villain, and again, making the public lose trust in their heroes. Dabi versus Shoto was very cool, watching the blue and the red fire, and making Shoto realize that he has to verse his brother, he has to take him down, because Endeavor is not going to be able to do it. After my rewatch, I noticed that Deku also reached out to Dabi, and was like, it's your quirk, not his, just like how he did to Shoto back in the UA Sports Festival. Really trying to make this character stop obsessing over his father and just accept himself. Which, of course, Dabi does not give a shit because he knows it's his quirk. He just wants to see his father suffer. Mirio coming back in was an absolutely awesome moment. Seeing that Eri was finally able to give him back his powers, and I love the moment between them two because he's like, I don't want to ask you for this, but she's like, no, I've been training. This is the whole point of me doing this. And it was so adorable. I loved it. And then Bakugo's hero name, such a joke. Great explosion, murder, god, dynamite. I really hope he gets a better name in the future because that is way too long and makes absolutely no sense. Then we get to the rip Mr. Compress moment, someone who's sacrificing himself to save his friends. Again, the villains aren't so different from the heroes because they will do anything to save the people they care about. And on top of it, you see that his great-great-grandfather wasn't really that bad. He was stealing from the fake heroes who were going around making money about them being heroes and then lining the pockets of the needy, showing that Mr. Compress's lineage wanted social reform, wanted to change this hero society, and showing that he wasn't really that bad of a dude, which showing that villains aren't all bad. That was a trend during the season, that the villains aren't really that bad. Well, some of them are terrible people, but some of them aren't that bad and were just dealt a very bad hand growing up. Like, look at Shigaraki. He killed his family by accident. He was a child who didn't know his own powers and he was traumatized by it. Then you had All For One coming in and taking him and manipulating him and turning him into this great villain. Now, like I said earlier, the aftermath of everything was intense. The city's in ruins. The people are losing hope in their heroes. There's just destruction everywhere. And you can really see how society is being crushed by these waves of chaos. And then you had all the prisoners escaping Tartarus and other prisons, and that just turned Japan into a war zone. Even having the civilians trying to protect themselves using their own support gear and just causing more damage because they're not trained. And then you have all the heroes quitting because the public is criticizing them, really showing that they weren't true heroes, because true heroes, even if they're being criticized, they will stand up and they will fight. They will protect society. They're not in it for the fame and the glory, which is also why we only see so many out there. So many quit because they cared more about the fame than they did anything else. And I like during this whole aftermath too, where we see that Shoto is realizing that him and Toya are the same. They were both dealt the same hand. They were both burned with hate for their father, but Deku was able to get Shoto out of it, and Dabi never had anyone with him. We also got Hawk's past revealed, how he came from a life of crime, and how he was in hiding, but he always wanted to help people. And then he felt like he left his mother because the Hero Association took him in and turned him into a weapon. He left his mother behind, but his mother also just kind of gave him up to have a better life because they were from nothing. They were living in the gutters, It was really shitty life for this kid who had a good quirk, but it also shows you how the Hero Association takes people and turns them into weapons for their own agenda. And I like during all of the hospital while they're recovering, how you had the whole Todoroki family coming together to talk about Toya, and we find out about Toya's past, which was so goddamn dark and depressing, and I really feel for the character after this, because it's not his fault. It's all Endeavor's. It's everything that's happened so far is Endeavor and how he's such a shitty person and father. I mean, he's trying to be better, but it doesn't excuse what he's done. And it was all because he wanted to have this perfect child between fire and ice, someone who could be better than All Might, and that was the whole goal. He had Toya, but Toya didn't have the ice powers, but he had flames that were better than his own. However, Toya had his ice side, so he got burned by them, which was just very upsetting. How he had the son, he wanted to put everything into him, and then just took it all away, and kept having kids so that he could have Shoto, who was both fire and ice, and could be that hero. Because he was worried about Toya getting burnt. Like, he still cared about his kid, and he was worried, but he dealt with it horribly. Because instead of, helping the kid deal with it, still helping him try to be a hero, but in different ways, he just left him alone and ignored him, making the kid freak out and just want his father's approval. So he kept training and training and training until he snapped because of Shoto trying to kill his own younger brother because he's just losing it. This kid is snapping and no one's doing anything to help him. His whole family is just ignoring him, which realistically it is all their fault the way he became. It's just such a sad story. And then him burning himself alive while he cries because his father never came to him to see his full power and just told him to leave it alone. Really showing why he is the way he is. That whole episode was amazing, really showing the dark side of the Todoroki family, and I think they did it really, really well. And I still want to learn more about Dabi and how his character is going to go forward because he has such a complex backstory. But of course, after all that, that leads into the Dark Hero arc. Overall, the whole war arc was amazing. Everything that happened during it was absolutely fantastic. I love what they did here. I think the animation probably could have been a little better with the fight with Deku versus Shigaraki, but the moments were still hard-hitting. They were still amazing. And the way they dealt with everything and wrapped up that arc was fantastic, really showing the public's doubts with the heroes and also making us realize who the true heroes are and who the fakes are by the true heroes staying around to fight while the fakes leave. They also gave us amazing stories with each character and really showing us hero moments, just giving us fantastic character development and also setting up a lot for the future. I'm going to be breaking this into 2 parts because it's going to be such a long video. I want to talk about the Dark Hero arc in more detail. So what did you think of the Paranormal Liberation arc from My Hero Academia Season 6? Let me know down in the comments. What was your favorite moment from it? And what did you not like from it? I'm curious to see what people's opinions are about this arc. Let me know down in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned because I will release the Dark Hero arc soon. If you like this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Helps out the channel a lot. Thanks again for watching, and I'll talk to you later.